I guess we're here. So this is happening. As you can tell, I'm kind of nervous, but yeah, my name's Melon. I want to thank everyone for coming out. This means a lot. I almost skipped out this morning. I was like, no, I'm not showing up. Just I'm sick, COVID, something. But yeah. Oh, Freddie Leon, amazing. Where you at, Freddie? Come on up here real quick, Freddie. That was amazing to walk into, because as I was coming here, I was trying to hype myself up. I was playing music that I was like, oh yeah, let me just like get in the zone. I said a prayer before I did that, and I was like, my wife doesn't listen to a lot of hip hop unless I'm listening to it. But so I was just like, I hope she's all right with this. But I look over and she's just like jamming along. So kind of hyped myself up. But then it was like, was I too hyped? And then I walked into Freddie Leon, and it was like the music was perfect. So I would just want to say thank you for that.
I gotta
oh no, you're good. You're good. Yes. That was good. So if you don't know Freddie Leon, take a look at him. He's amazing, and I just followed you too, so it was like really cool. Yeah, and you have a family, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful family. Yeah. Are they here?
They are on their way.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna have a little daytime cocktail.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, all right. So, yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. That was great. Sure. Amazing. Yeah, and it's nice to see all these beautiful faces. I'm surprised all of you guys trusted him enough to come out and see me ramble. But let's, I think, thank you to Creative Mornings. You know, you guys, I don't know why you guys voted me here, but I'm here. And we're here talking about trust. Whew, that's a tough one, right? How many of you are sitting next to someone you don't know? And you trust that that's all right? You know what I mean? So we already started off good. So I created this. I kind of put these like little things because sometimes trust can be sticky. You know, it's a sticky situation with trust, right? You put so much emphasis on. Wait, also, I'm trusting that someone has a timer on because they know that I can keep going. So yeah, where's my timer guy? All right, I'm trusting you. But yeah, you know, I had a speech written out, and I read it to my wife yesterday, and she looked at me and she said, no. She said it was too formal. It was too, I sounded like a politician, she said. And I'm like, well, geez, I'm far from that. But, you know, people want to know who I am. And I do have a lot of stories. I did grow up in Chicago. And if you want to know, yeah, that's me right there. All right? Yeah, big old nerd, right? If you look at this guy, you're like, look at this, you know. But growing up like this, it was a perfect disguise, because I grew up in a gang-infested neighborhood, and I put a lot of trust in a lot of my elders, which were a lot of my cousins, my uncles, my brother, and we were in one of the second largest gangs in Chicago, and we ran amok, you know? Granted, we were in a gang. The neighborhood trusted us. They trusted us to, one, protect the neighborhood, because that's what the gang started out as, protection for each other. I think there you go. You're from Chicago, you know. We stood up for each other, we protected each other, and we took care of the neighborhood. So much that graffiti wasn't even a thing in our neighborhood unless it was like the emblem of the gang. But I got interested in graffiti. This was me. I don't really want to point this one out of where I'm at, but I'm in there, and I was part of a gang. We had over 10,000 members in this gang, and it was a huge gang. It was very well organized, and we did a lot of things that were not good, you know. And I had to walk around like that nerd and use. And I think they knew that I looked, you know, harmless. So the cops would see me and they'd be like, oh, well, there's that kid, you know. But they didn't know that I was being influenced by my elders and that they were putting that trust in me to do certain things that I'm not proud of. And I got interested in graffiti. One thing about graffiti in Chicago is that graffiti in Chicago, it doesn't run with gangs. One, because if you're doing graffiti in neighborhoods, it brings what they call heat to the hood. And that heat to the hood is like something the cops don't want in the neighborhood, right? So they want to be able to run their business accordingly without the cops coming in. And if there's a lot of graffiti in the neighborhood looks shitty. Even though the neighborhood did look shitty, just a lot of abandoned lots. I would get what they call the violation. So I would get beat up every time I would write my name somewhere, or every time I did something, I would get beat up for 30 seconds. And it was just the wall. The words were, yo, you did this, to the wall. And I'm like, okay. Take cover and get beat up for 30 seconds. And I did graffiti so often that it forced me to get out of my neighborhood and do more in the city. So I would jump on the trains, and you know, sometimes you look at graffiti and you see those like tags and you see those throw-ups in the streets, but sometimes there's a story to that. Sometimes you got to trust that there's something behind that tag, that throw up, that eventually, you know, somebody's trying to say something. And that was my voice. That was my voice that I was trusting in to give to not only to just for me to walk through, to be able to keep going, but also to share with other friends that were also involved with graffiti. But we got to the point that we started becoming more artistic, more into the colors, color matching. And you know, you're amongst tough guys and you're over here talking with other people about, ooh, how about the color pink and this color purple go good with the color black and the color white? And they're just like, get that soft ass stuff out of here, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay. But by the way, I chose some of these slides, but my wife chose a lot of these slides because I was just gonna put words, and she said, no, what are you, no. So I was like, okay, I started thinking of what could I put? And I didn't want it to be like a self-promoting thing, so I think she chose things that I really enjoy doing. Most of the times you might see some waves or something that you know, I've been commissioned to do, but most of the times when it comes to graffiti, I really enjoy painting graffiti, designing the letters and putting the colors together and collaborating with other artists. So there I am in the Navy. Well, fast forward from my childhood, I got in trouble painting graffiti, but also had some gang activity that I was facing, jail time. And I remember before going into the Navy, I was like, well, I guess, my lawyer had me write a letter to the judge, telling the judge, like, who I am and what I'm doing. I had a good job, by the way. Out of high school, I think that was one thing that my parents instilled in me growing up. And although we were in gang life, my parents were very young, and so we grew up with my parents. So they kind of like, my mom was in school, my dad was working 3 jobs, auntie was taking care of us, we were sneaking out and, all this stuff. But amongst that, like, my parents were always caring parents, loving parents. They fought for us to try to give us the best life that they could. And I didn't, obviously, as kids, we don't understand that until we get older and we'll be like, oh, man, how did I not trust what they were trying to do for me, But anyways, I found myself fighting for my freedom, and I ended up signing up to the Navy. Well, I went to the Marines, and the Marines guy was like, well, you got like 4 cases. He's like, dude, I can't do nothing for you. And then I'm like, okay, smoking a cigarette outside, I guess I'm getting ready to go to jail. And then Navy guy comes out, he's like, so you really want to get out, huh? I was like, yeah, it's either that or go to Puerto Rico. And it's the same crap in Puerto Rico, because that's where everybody in the neighborhood was going to escape Chicago, Puerto Rico. So I was like, well, and he's like, well, how about joining the Navy? And I was like, where do I sign? Get me in. And I got in September 6, 2001. And that was, 4 or 5 days before 9/11. So I was like, well, I just left one war and now I'm going into another. So I had to trust that. But I got it to Hawaii, and I was in heaven. At least I thought I was in. I was like, man, did I really make it out of Chicago, or did I just like die and this is heaven? Because this is amazing. It wasn't until I got to Hawaii. I got to Hawaii my first week, and I still had this mentality. And I know it sounds crazy, but I'm trusting that this all stays here. Doesn't, you know what I mean? 10 minutes, trusting my timer guy. All right, so speed it up. I got here my first week, and I had this graffiti mentality of like, ooh, I see graffiti here. Okay, there's some graffiti. And I go to the Kmart. It was a big K over here on Nimitz. I don't know if everybody remembers. And I don't know why I did this, because I was in the Navy and I had money in the bank account. So I went to Kmart and I just grabbed the duffel bag and I took all this spray paint. And I walked out. And I took a bus from Hawaii Kai, and I found myself all the way in Nanakuli. But I got off and I kept painting. And I wrote my name everywhere. And the police are here. I'm sorry. I paid my dues. I feel like, I embedded myself in the community here, and I didn't realize that little tag was making an impact on a community here, because that led to me meeting other artists and then exploring other creative aspects. And I was a graffiti writer in Chicago, and I became an artist in Hawaii. I was an adolescent in Chicago, and I became an adult in Hawaii. So I feel like Hawaii, in a sense, helped nurture me and help me become a man. yeah, there was so many, and then I moved back to Chicago in 2007, and during that time, I got beat up just from like old pasts I felt were kind of catching up, and I was just like, whoa, this is too much, and I found myself kind of facing the law again. So not in the sense of like I was in trouble, but I had witnessed certain things that were pretty bad. My brother was also at that time. My brother was also facing prison time for a crime that he did not commit. And then at the same time, my brother, after 16 years, got found innocent. And then my cousin, after 30 or 23 years, got found innocent. And then more people started getting found innocent. And we realized that there was this detective in our neighborhood when we were kids, locking people up and pinning murders on them. And it was all for control of the drug trade. So there's your trust. At that time, I had a hard time really trusting any police officer, any law enforcement. Even cousins that I grew up with that were just police officers, I was just like, I didn't even want to talk to them, you know? But I found myself on that side, and then I was just like, all right, this is enough. I can't deal with this. I gotta get out. And I found myself in a rut. I found myself back in Hawaii, working at Cutter Mazda over here. And I was living out of my car. I met my wife. And then I fell into powwow. And this was one of the first murals, or the second mural I painted for powwow. And it was a transition because I was like, I'm a graffiti writer. I want to do graffiti. And I realized that this thing, I called a friend, and he told me, dude, paint your wave. I was like, nah, I'm going to paint graffiti. You know, I want to paint my character. And realized, no, wait, maybe he's right. And my wife was like, you should paint this. Challenge yourself. And I didn't know how I was going to go. And if you don't know where this is at, this is right here on Cook and Awahi. So this was a pivotal moment because it transitioned me. It made me realize I was becoming an artist. And then I got to meet people like Gary, Jack. We moved into a studio, started the helm, or they had already started the helm. But I put trust in these guys. And then I put trust in Jasper, Ali, all you guys. You guys help. You guys are a part of this. Because of you guys that this community exists. Some people say, oh man, you're starting a community. No. The community was already here. And trust this, the community was already here because Hawaii has a lot of great talent. I better go fast. So anyways, I was going through all this transition, finding myself, what am I doing? What am I into? I was looking at Home Bucket Depot, that Home Bucket, or
switches on.
Home that
And then you can grab the other one too.
a bucket from Home Depot full of art supplies, and I was like, I feel like that's my head right there, you know, like, and then I was still transitioning into graffiti. And then that time, remember Figaro? That was my cat Figaro. He passed away. He had a little broken tail, but he passed away. So I incorporated him in that. And then I'm Puerto Rican and Guatemalan, so I incorporated the Quetzal for part of Puerto Rico. And I do believe strongly in my faith. And yeah, thanks to James. James is a huge part of that. I started getting into lettering and realizing that Aloha goes a long way, especially in art, especially in trust. And Aloha is alive and well, and it's in everyone. Started finding community and realizing that the community, we're not all alone. We're all in this, man. We're all in this together. So you know, we got to trust that. And that community got me to help Kamea Hadar. I don't know if you know Kamea Hadar, but that guy is incredible. And I didn't like him when I first met him. I was like, look at this guy. What happens? But then I started talking to him, picking his brain, and he entrusted me to help him in many of his murals. And I was like, wow, this guy really knows a lot, and he's really sharing a lot. He doesn't hold back. If you have any questions, he'll give it to you. When it came to business, art, he'll let you know. Where's my time guy? I'm good. So, I mean, it just, with the community, you start realizing that you're doing all these things. And I'm here with a sign that says 5 minutes. I mean, seriously? I didn't think I would be here. If you asked me, I was living out of my car when I met my wife, working, living out of the car, showering at Ala Beach Park, going to work, and because I could hang out at work all day, I would sit at work from bell to bell, 8 to 8, and try to sell cars all day. Maybe get into a fight with a salesman or two, or even my manager. But I remember that, calling my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, like, babe, I think I'm fired. I just punched my manager. Da-da-da. He threw a stapler at me, and he comes in, and he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm packing up. And I'm like, guess I'm fired. And he's like, I didn't say you were fired. Get out there and sell me a car. So I guess he had trust that I could sell cars. So just with that, there's community out there, and I've embedded myself into this community, and they've accepted me. And now I feel like it's time to serve, and serve daily. So give back. There's so many ways. I ask God all the time. Every time I wake up, I'm like, Lord, what do you got for me today? Because I'm still kind of, there's no money in my pocket. But I know He's got me. And the more I trust in Him, the more I can better serve all of you guys. And I feel like now I'm at a moment where I've started the gangway with my partner, Jessica. Creative Morning, that's the next guy right there. You guys, Jessica. That's a great guy. He's taught me a lot of patience. He's taught me skills that I'm just like, whoa, I didn't even think like that. But he just kind of balances me out, and I get frustrated easy sometimes, so he sometimes calms me down. He's just be like, are you done? Like, yeah. So, but yeah, he can't be here today because he's with his daughter right now. But great guy. With all that, we're all going to fight. Each tentacle here kind of represents a struggle, and so we're always going to fight. We're always going to fight for what we love, what we want to do. We just got to trust yourself. And when you start trusting in yourself and you start trusting in your community, you start to realize that you can actually start taming these tentacles to kind of have a smoother movement and just kind of work with them, and things will start radiating, You just really have to put that trust and believe. Just believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing. No matter how hard, I tell my wife this all the time, I quit. I'm just going to get another more job. Maybe I'm just going to hire, I start looking at a hotel. I call Gary sometimes. Hey, are they hiring? Gary's like, yeah. But yeah, you just got to believe no matter what. Just keep going. Trust in the process. Have fun. And trust in your sponsors, because they're doing a great job trying to keep us afloat, trying to keep all this together, So, yeah.
I think this applies to everyone, and even myself. I get stuck at times, and I'm sure you did in your life. And what were some of the things that got you unstuck?
You ever see that 8 Mile movie? Is it 8 Mile or 7 Mile or what is it? Eminem, right? 8 Mile, yeah, 8 Mile. Or he's in that, he's in that scene where he's just looking in the mirror and he's just like, it's just looking in the mirror and talking to yourself. I do it almost every morning. I brush my teeth. I stare at myself in the mirror. And I was like, oh, who's that? What's the Saturday night guy? I'm good enough. I'm bold enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. Just reassuring yourself, because we all go through this. Everybody, every single person here goes through a struggle, goes through some type of plateau. And if you tell me you don't, nah, you do. At one point or another, you do. And you just gotta put your head down, put those horse blinders on, and just believe that you could do it, no matter what. It don't matter what you do. Just keep going. And sometimes you need, I got a strong person behind me that, like I said, I read this speech and I was like so hyped because I spent like so long on it, and I was like, I just didn't even say it. I just looked at her, I was like, what do you know? But believe in yourself, find people that believe in you, and just keep at it. Yeah.
Aloha.
Aloha.
I have a question to ask you to talk a little bit about your art. When you do your art, do you start with like a vision and then create, or do you just start the creation and then it flows into what you end up creating?
I think it's a little bit of both. Sometimes I have a vision, and sometimes I'm just like, ooh, yeah, I'm in the flow, yeah, and I'll go, and then I show it to people, and they're just like, and I'm like, what? No way. But then sometimes I'm like stuck, Back to her question, I'm stuck, and I just don't know where to go, and if you're constantly doing something, you're gonna have references, and then that's another thing is in today's society, today's artist society, like there's so many resources and references that it's easy to kind of like pick yourself back up. Like, oh, I'm feeling like this. Let me maybe look up some stuff, and then you look it up and you're like, okay, cool. And I always like to if I feel like, oh, let me look a reference and then put that reference away so that I can try to remember that and visualize it in my own head. And then sometimes you realize you come up with ideas that just, are incredible.
Hi.
No. By the way, does anybody know Taylor? Taylor?
Just wanted to say,
You could sit down, Taylor.
I know, seriously. Sorry, I'm probably blocking everybody behind me. It must have sucked. I just wanted to give you your flowers, bro. I enjoyed every minute of this, and I think you downplay yourself a lot. And I think I could speak for many people when I say that your heart speaks through literally everything you do. And I think this was such an amazing opportunity to see you in a different realm. And I just adore you.
Thank you.
So dope. And question to back that up.
Thank you so much.
You talked a lot about your wife. How did you guys meet, and how did she help you in your journey of creation and life, I guess?
Man, it goes back to the trust. One, the trust and the belief. She trusted that I was able to do something. When I met her, I told her I was an artist, but all I was doing was drawing graffiti on paper and maybe going to a ditch or something or two. And she was just like, then I got commissioned to do a mural in 2017 in Chicago. And I went to Chicago, did the mural, and we had 3 days to do it. And it was I got there, it's a 30-foot wall. And we get there and it's a 75-foot wall. And we're like, oh my gosh, we got 3 days to do this. We called my family, and my family, being Puerto Rican, they're just, came in abundance and helped us. And yeah, we knocked it out. And then when we came back, she was just like, you need to be doing this. Like, you're good at this. And I was like, nah, there's no money in there. I'll sell cars. And she's like, nah. I was like, I'm trying to get to finance. She's like, no. No. And one day, yeah, I found myself at a car dealership sitting there and seeing a customer come in, and I was just like, and my friend who got me the job, I was at Honda Windward at the time, and he's just like, are you gonna get that? And I was like, nah. Matter of fact, I think I quit. And he's like, shit. And I was like, no. And I went to the office and I said, hey, I quit. And one of the managers was like, come on, Nikki. By the way, my real name is Nikki, if anybody's wondering. He's like, here's a coloring book. Go color. Because he asked what I was going to do. I told him I was going to do art. But yeah, she believed in me. And since then, she's been pushing me to keep going. And no matter how many times I come up to her, I'm like, oh, this sucks. Being an artist, this sucks. She's like, are you done? All right, now go. And she just believes in me, so she believes in me and she trusts in me. And I think those are things that we as artists need. We need people that believe in us, because sometimes it's hard to believe in ourselves. And we need people to show us like, oh, wait, I do have this in me, So, yeah. And how did we meet? I say at a coffee shop, but really it was Tinder. So
Awesome.
she was the only person I met, by the way. I was like, I'm done with this. Like, she's like, what? Okay. Yeah.
Taylor. Also, sitting next to Taylor is great because she gives so much commentary. Like, that is real. Oh, yeah. Everything you're saying. Yeah, it's very affirming. But yeah, I think your story is incredible. And without, I think the understanding that everybody goes through struggle and strife, and not everybody grew up in a gang environment. So I think your struggle and strife is different. But the identity is that, yeah, like we have birthed out of this pain. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing, like the trust and belief and the serve daily is something that I try to apply. Yeah. And it's interesting, just even with the money in the pocket, because service is so different and in so many different ways. But I'm curious, how do you show up every day to serve daily? And how do you fill yourself up before that service?
The way I do it is I pray. I get up in the morning and I say, okay, Lord, this is it. Start the day to one day at one foot in front of the other. And Abigail, right? Happy birthday, by the way. It's Abigail's birthday. But serving daily is you don't realize, Taylor, you opening up a shop down the road on Baratania and McCully, and you're now serving a community, and so now not only are you serving a community, but you're serving other artists. My friend Megan owns Mercado de la Raza. She saw that there was a need for the Latin American market here, and that store needed help, and so she took it over, and she's done an amazing job, and she shows up serving daily. My wife is a professor at UH. She has students that drive her up the wall sometimes, but she shows up serving daily. So I think it's just a matter of just like knowing, forget about the struggles, because you're always going to go through a struggle. Just show up, and you're going to see the more you show up, the more if you put your head down, show up, you're going to see things start to present themselves. And now I find myself serving a community that I'm proud to serve. I did so much art that now I think, they say we can't go out there and paint graffiti because we're old already, which is true. So now it's time to start giving back to community to those who don't have that voice, and are looking for that voice. There's so many young kids out there right now that are struggling, that want to be heard. There's so many people out there. It doesn't matter whether you're young or you're 70. It doesn't matter. There's so many people that just need to be heard or want to be heard and need a voice. And by you showing up consistently, that helps build up encouragement, motivation, trust, belief, all that stuff. So, yeah, just by serving daily is by showing up daily. And whether you meditate, pray, yoga, workout, jiu-jitsu, whatever, cook, bake, or something, I don't know, just show up.
When you're artists, you have so many ideas, right? How do you bring them back? How do you bring them to life? Like, how do you, pull them from the sky and actually make them happen instead of just leaving them there in the ether space?
Yeah, I don't know. I just, like I said, sometimes you draw something and you're like, yeah, this is it. And then you show it to people and they're just like, eh. And then you spend so much time on it, but then the one thing you spend 2 seconds on, that's the one that they're just like, woohoo! And you're just like, what? This is my least favorite one. But it's, yeah, I don't know. I would say it's trial and error. Just keep pulling whatever you got out of your hat and showing it to people. And then when you finally start getting something that people, if your intention is to show this to a bunch of people, then keep putting stuff out and see what resonates with people. And then that can help you kind of guide you in what you're doing, right? But at the same time, don't just do it just for the people. You also got to do it for yourself. So you have to understand that there's a separation of like doing art. I love doing graffiti, but if someone hires me to paint a mural, most of the time they just look at the graffiti and just like, what's that? Oh, I like this wave. Ooh, I like this rainbow. It's just like, so whatever you have up here, just keep bringing it out. Just keep bringing it out. And what you're going to see, you're going to have like almost different lifelines through your art. And your art is going to go in chapters, It's just, you're going to also just keep progressing, keep learning, keep learning, keep progressing. Don't let it get stuck up here. Because you let it get stuck up here, then that's when you imprison yourself within your own mind, and then nothing's coming out, nothing's flowing out. So just let it flow. Let it out.
Awesome. Thank you, Mel. Okay, everyone give him a hand.